Hey everyone, back with another Photoshop tutorial, and today we're going to make this kind of a neon sign effect using either text or an image, or basically it works with almost anything with lines, that is. The inspiration for this idea came from this post that I saw on Instagram this week. So I saw this and I wanted to give it a try to see if I could do it, and I did, and I thought it would make a cool tutorial, and I thought you guys would kind of enjoy this and maybe you can make your own. So I'm going to go through how I did this, and also if you stick around to the end of the video, I actually made an action on the layer styles that you need to make this kind of glowing thing. So we will kind of jump in. So I also made a couple different colors, and then I also show how we can change the effect with a hue and saturation. So we'll go through that really quick. First of all, we need an image that we're gonna make the neon sign out of. So over here in Illustrator, I have the 5.0 badge outline. So I'm just gonna select this. I'm gonna hit Command C, go back over to Photoshop, hit Command V, and I'll just put this in. It can be a smart layer or pixels, it doesn't matter. We're gonna flatten it. So we just kind of want to get this around where we want it, and that's probably good. So we'll just hit enter, and so I'm going to show you kind of what the action looks like. I'm just going to rasterize that layer just so it's not a smart object or anything. We don't need to do anything with it back in Illustrator. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to click on this neon piece, click on neon, and I'm just going to play that. So you can see instantly it did what we wanted it to do. So I'm going to go through actually the settings on this and show you what it is. So all right, so what this effect is built on is all just different layer styles. So if you were to double click on this layer before we added that, it would take you to this dialog box. So the first thing you want to do is go to Bevel and Emboss. And these are the settings that you want to use here. You want to use Pillow Emboss, you want to use Smooth, a depth of about 200 or 250, the size of 15, Soften 3, angles 91 and 53. You want this deep, this one right here, this deep cove. Change that to overlay, opacity at 100, overlay, opacity at 0. The next thing you want to go to is contour. Same thing, we want that deep cove, this one right here. And then we turn the range up to 100. We're going to go to stroke. This is the first area where you would add color. So if you want a different color other than that kind of tealy green, you would go ahead and change it in here. So structure, we have 40 pixels. We're going to do it in the center screen. 100%. We want to click this overprint. And then we're going to go into gradient. We're going to double click the gradient, and it gives you the editor down here. So if you wanted to change this color to like a purple or a pink or a blue, you would just select your color in here. You can double click that, go through the color picker. Not going to do that right now, but feel free to customize it, use whatever color you'd like, and then just kind of leave that gradient how it is. Then click OK. So going down, shape burst, align with layer, we want the angle at 90, and then scale at 100%. And then the last thing down here at the bottom, this is another area where you add the color. We're going to set the blending mode to overlay, opacity at 100%, noise at 0. You go ahead and select your color. So again, same thing as before, you just color pick, click OK. Technique soften, spread at 20, size at 250. This contour you can leave at the linear. You don't have to change that. Jitter at 50, or sorry, range at 50 and jitter at 0. So that would be all that you need to do for this, and that's how you kind of get this effect. So what we need to do now is we don't want this neon sign in front of the car. So we need to go through and we need to make a layer mask of the outside of the car. And we would do that using the pen tool. So you would just go around, click and drag your selection straight down. And just go all the way around. If you make a mistake or you want to move that, you can hit your command key and you can kind of just nudge that over to where it needs to go. And you just follow the car all the way around. The pen tool is probably the most accurate way to make selections in cases like this. It does take a few minutes, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually not bad. You don't get a lot of the fringing and stuff that you get with like the quick select tool and things like that. So on these hard areas, this is probably the best tool I would recommend to use. The pen tool can be kind of finicky, but the more you practice with it, the easier it gets to use. And zooming in is always helpful. So you can kind of just go around. And we don't need to be super precise down here. It's mainly on the top where we're going to get some of that fading and colors. We're only half done with the technique. We still want to put some glow around the sign there. And I'm just going to go to the wheel here, go right around the bottom. Again, not being super precise in this area just because we don't really need to be. I do want to be a little bit more precise in here just in case we want some of that glow to come back behind the car. Just come around here. Almost done. All right, so then we'll just make a selection with that. And then something that I like to do is, you can see what I did here. I'll just make a new layer and I'll make a layer mask with that. That way, if I need to reference that, I can do it. You can also save the path in here and go back and load it. I find it's easy enough just to do that. And the other cool thing, if you want, so let me zoom out here. If we want to apply this to multiple layers, we can just go right here. We can hold down our option key and we can drag that up to that layer. And you can see we actually need to invert this. So we're going to hit Command I. Whoops. It helps if you're on the right layer when you hit that. So we're going to hit Command I. So it takes it off of the car with that layer mask. Now we do have some areas here where it is bleeding outside because of that overlay that we had, but we'll go back in and we'll take care of that in just a second. And we also kind of want some of that too, so we'll go back and add that in the next stage. But first, what we want to do is let's make a new layer above that. And for this layer, we are going to come up here and we're going to grab this Elliptical Marquee tool. And what we want to do is we want to make a kind of big elliptical layer right here. Something like that. And you can see I already have my color loaded. So if you want to copy this over, here are the values. You can use this code right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it with that color. So I'm going to hit Option or Alt and Delete. And then I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that blending mode to soft light. And then I'm going to come up here to filter, and I'm going to go down to blur, and I'm going to go to Gaussian blur. And I had this set at 150, so that's kind of where I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you can see what that did. That kind of sold that extra glow around the background. And so we're going to repeat that process one more time, but we're going to use a little bit smaller circle. So we're going to come up here to our elliptical marquee tool again, and holding Option or Alt, we're going to click in the middle of the sign and drag out. And this one we just want to basically be the size of the sign. So we're going to again fill that. So we're going to hit Option or Alt Delete. And we are going to change the color again to soft light. And we are going to deselect, so hit Command D. And then we're going to come up here again. We're going to go to blur, Gaussian blur. The other cool thing that you can do is you already had the blur from before. So you can click on this and that just kind of repeats that exact same thing. So then we're going to put that underneath. And if you want, you can lower the opacity on some of this stuff. And the other cool thing is if you want to change this to a different color, like a little bit darker color or something, you can just come down, click that. You just load the selection again, so you can hit Command click that, hit Alt Delete, and then you have that. It just adds a little bit extra to the center. If you want to adjust it after the fact, you can come in and you can move it, you can shrink it. But that's kind of the basis of the technique. So if you don't want this on the car so much, so there's a lot of glowing stuff up here. What you can do is you can come in and you can put all three of these into a group. So now they're grouped together. So we'll call this teal example. And now what we can do, we can take our layer mask, again, hitting Option, clicking and dragging, and we can put that up there. And now you can see none of that green is on the car. Now, you might get some green coming up and you might see some green down here on the floor. If you wanted to do something like that, all you would need to do is kind of repeat the process that you did with that, the glow around here. So you could come in with the elliptical marquee tool again and holding Alt just to come from all sides. You can do that, and Option or Alt Delete to fill that. And then if you want to go to blur, Gaussian blur again, and that's kind of crazy looking, so we want to bring that opacity way down. And we also might want to, we definitely want to change the blending mode to soft light. And you can put a layer mask on that if you want. And then kind of paint some of it out. So if we go to our brush tool, just make this a little bit smaller. Let's bring down the opacity and the flow. Let's bring it down quite a bit just to sneak up on things. And let's say we don't want as much in here. Helps if we're painting with the right color, so we want to be painting on black because we want to hide it. And let's say we just want to get rid of a little bit of this. And we can also bring the opacity down. We just want that kind of hint of green down there, so you can see before and after. And then the other thing in here for the teal example, if we want to bring some of that back onto the car, what we can do is painting in white. We can get a big brush, again, bringing down the opacity. We can just go right around the car here. And let's say we want some of that green shining through. We just want to paint on the car here. and we can start introducing some of that glow. So you can see right in here, we're starting to get some of that green right on the top. And that just kind of helps sell the effect there, like you have it bouncing back and forth. Now, something that I did in the example is in here, in the text layer, I went through, and because neon signs aren't usually solid like this, if you wanted to sell the effect a little bit more, what you could do is grab your brush tool. Let's bring the flow and opacity up, and let's make our brush really small. And if we come in here, let's get our default color, so we'll hit D, and we want to be painting on the layer mask, and we want to hide this, so we want to switch over to black being our foreground color. We can come just right in here and we can start cutting this out. So if you've seen neon signs, you know that they make them in pieces. And this just kind of helps sell that as it was made in the pieces. So maybe they would make like a 90-degree bend there, and maybe in here they would half top and bottom, and maybe they would do the same thing like right here, and then maybe back here. So it just kind of helps sell that. And if you want to bring that out a little bit more, what you could do is come back into the effects, and you could probably go in here into the drop shadow. Click on your drop shadow, and you could play with this just to see kind of what that looks like. I think that looks pretty good. You see the little shadow right underneath. So this is before, and that's with the drop shadow turned on. So that just helps cut it out a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and click OK. So now you're here. If you use the action, you're kind of set to the green. If you wanted to change the colors, you have two options. So you can go back in here. You can go through the different layers that had the colors. So for stroke, you can change this to a different color. Outer glow, you can change that to a different color. You can actually see an example of what I did here in the purple version. So if I click on this, you can see I had a purple layer. I actually started this with the teal, and I went back and did that exact same thing. I made it with the purple. This is what that area looks like. So if we come back into bevel and emboss, you can see this is all the same, but you get down here to the stroke, and this is the purple color. If you wanted to see what these were, this is the color code that I used for that one. Here is the color code that I used for this one. And then outer glow, same thing. There's the color code. And you can see I added the drop shadow on this one. So the other option that you can do is you can use a hue and saturation adjustment. So let's go back to the example that we're making right now. So turn on the floor. If we name these layers, this is floor. This is just our mask. This was from before. So let's make a hue and saturation adjustment. We'll come up here to our adjustments. Let's click on hue and saturation. We want to bring this actually above what we're working on. And then the other thing that we want to do is we just want to affect the background. We don't want to affect the car. So we are going to bring our layer mask from this. We're going to hit Option, and we're going to click and drag. And we want to change that layer mask. That's what that dialog box was telling us. So we want to click here, and you can see we have our adjustments here. So we want to go in and we can move this color, and just start shifting the colors that we want. Now, you might have a little issue in here, and you may have to go and adjust some of the colors, but this is just another way of kind of getting that effect quick and dirty. Now the only thing that we might want to do is, instead of copying this layer mask, you can see here we still have that green shining through. So instead of copying that layer mask, let's go ahead and copy this teal example. So let's hit Option or Alt and drag that up and say yes. So now you can see we have that green tone right in here. So that was before, and that's now with the adjustment. So you can kind of go around, just play with the different colors, slide it right along here. And that's a quick way where you can go in and kind of just adjust things without going through all of the different colors. So, and again, this works with pretty much anything. So if you wanted to do text, I found, let me hide this layer really fast, and I'll hide this. I found on defont.com there was this neon lights thing. So if you wanted to, you could do like Mustang, and the spacing on this font is terrible, so you'll want to go in and kind of change it and adjust it. And to do that, you just click in between the fonts, and you can hit Option, and your arrow keys will move them closer or further apart. So let's go through and kind of just adjust this really fast. And then we'll hit Command T to just make this bigger. And then let's go ahead and hit that action button really fast. Just kick that off. And then if we pulled the layer mask up, we already have all of this stuff built, so it's pretty quick. So if we just move this layer down into here, we'll hide the 5.0, and you can see quick and easy. We need to go in and fix this up with that font just a little bit, but you can see it kind of works with anything. So if you have company logos or things like that, you can do that. I think for the last thing, just to help sell this effect, the only thing that I might do is maybe make a curves layer above everything and just darken it down quite a bit. And then actually let's hide that Mustang font, and we'll bring back the 5.0, and we're gonna make the layer mask black. So we're gonna hit Option or Alt and delete. So we want to take a brush now, and we want kind of a big brush, and we just want to come in here and we're going to paint in white on the layer mask because we want to bring that out, and we're just going to go in and we're going to darken some of this up. Just want to make it a little more moody around the outside, make that sign really pop out. So that's our end product right there. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found something useful out of it. Again, like I say always, if you use this or you make this, make sure to tag me in it. I love seeing you guys put these kind of tools into use. And here is where you can find that neon action. So if you go to my website, nathanbrummer.com, go to nathanbrummer.com/download. It'll be down here right at the bottom. So click neon action. It'll download that action, and you can upload that into Photoshop. You can load that in, and you can use it, and it's pretty quick and easy to use. So if you have any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section below. I constantly read those, so I try to get back to as many people as I can. Other than that, I really appreciate it if you like this video, if you give it a thumbs up, and if you aren't already and you like the content, make sure you subscribe. So until next time, take care.